So, what is in this cardboard box? More importantly, what London-made rocking horses and pedal cars have to do with my discovery of electronics as a hobby. And more importantly, what's this little red thing here and why? This hobby, of course, led on to my lifelong interest in computers and ultimately the establishment of Gilsoft. So, my dad was an engineer in Post Office Telecoms who did his national service in the Royal Signals, posted to Mönchengladbach, which is nowhere near Stuttgart in Germany, a town that also features in this story, via Montreal in Canada, but I digress. So, my mum and dad were obviously very proud to have me. As the only survivor of 3 children, I was very spoilt. So I was always think this photograph was probably taken in Tynwyd Road, which is where we moved to from Whiteheather on Barry Island in around 1968, 69. So I'd have been around 3 or 4. And I always remember getting a special present for Christmas amongst the many. I always opened in my mum's bedroom, in a back bedroom there overlooking the garden. So I grew up pretty happy there, I think. And here's documentation of a typical 1970s Christmas morning using my instant Polaroid camera that I had for one such present. And camera in hand, I accompanied my dad on his fault call out in his little yellow van for a telephone fault. And this is me, probably about the time this story is, outside of the house with my friend Gareth from down the road. So Dad was also into photography, so there's plenty of photographs of me. This is me, as I said, about that time, with the dog Pongo. Don't ask, different story, and my mum Pam. So for those who were interested, we moved from Tynwyd Road up to Hawthorne Road, which was the first address used by Gilsoft around 1976, about a year after this photograph. So with that background for the electronics and things, you've now got a context for what's coming next. So let's roll the movie, shall we? So I think unboxing is quite a common event on YouTube. So probably be worth doing with this one. I was going to save them all up and try and do an unboxing video, but I can't wait to unbox things. I have tried in the past. It's just not going to happen, is it? This one's been crippling me since it arrived sort of late morning this morning, and it's quite late in the evening now. I tried to put it off because I thought I'd wait till the weekend where we get nice lighting and work really well. I'm hoping that this is actually one that I had. Trying to be a bit careful because I don't want to damage the. It's quite well wrapped, which is good. The seller said they would wrap it well, so I didn't want to take any chances. Trying to find out how the individuals wrapped it is not going to be easy, I think. Anyway, it looks like it's folded over. It's obviously a bit big for the box. Now this is hopefully going to recreate the sort of experience I had in the 1970s. There we are, so hopefully now, yeah, looks good. It's upside down. That's a good start, isn't it, for an unboxing video? So there we go. Oh, and it's the wrong way around. Look at that. That is, put the camera up a little bit, a vintage toy, Science Fun Experiments in Super Electronics. Now that little radio coil you can see by here, I've actually still got my original one, and in fact I've got some of the parts spread around the house, but I didn't have the actual toy. So we'll be looking at this hopefully in a bit of detail to take a little look inside. I know lots of parts are missing and it's incomplete, but it's a good start. So you know, it's a really quite impressive condition. The box, and it's been sellotaped again, so hopefully I can. It's been taped everywhere. Crumbs. Oh dear, that's a shame. we shall have to scribe the tape in a few different places. Well, I'm getting quite excited now to see inside this. There we go. So it's a little peek inside. Oh, look at that! Lots of bits in there. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's looking good. So we've got quite a few of the parts in there. Obviously got the one of the component cards. We should be able to repopulate that with modern components fairly easily, I would have thought. I was told that the parts, the paperwork was good in it. So, oh, some nice, like 1976, which is probably about the year I would have had mine. So, it's got that, so a little envelope, probably the previous owner. Needs a bit of a clean up, but we got the variable resistor, and obviously a circuit half built on one of these little clipboards. So this looks great, and we got quite a lot of the parts actually, I think. So some of the stickers that were there, and the beautiful book. The book is oops, and a little wire loops parts list as well. So it's quite a lot of pictures actually, so I don't think we're doing too bad. Most of the important things are here. All the slide switches in there. So, and the booklet was just... So let's just pause there. The inner cover of that document shows the links I referred to earlier, that although it was published by Logix Enterprises Limited in Montreal in Canada, and by the way, there's one apparently that still exists in Boulevard Saint Laurent. It was only set up in 2017, so I don't think it's anything to do with them. So I came up a little bit short on any sort of Canadian history. So if anyone's got any memories of that company, it'd be interesting, because there's a few things that came out in the research, some of which are in the links below this video. It sort of indicated that maybe Logix in Canada were the people who supplied to Radio Shack Tandy, who badged a lot of these kits that we'd see, in several of them. Certainly one of them, the computer one, which we'll look at later, was as early as 1971 badged as a kit by Radio Shack Tandy. So anyway, but all of these were originally developed by this company, Frankje Verlangshandelen. Anyway, Cosmos was their short name. So they are actually still around today. They've got a British arm called Thames and Cosmos, who still do some of the kits, and obviously they've got their German site as well, which is still lists similar kits, but not the actual ones we're looking at today. So they are interesting, I suppose, as a company. They based in Stuttgart, founded 1822 by Johann Friedrich Frank. They were just a book publisher of fairy tales, I think, things like that. But in 1912 they started a monthly magazine under the name Cosmos, and in the 20s they moved into publishing books on popular science topics, and they started producing some of these science kits for children and young adults, located under their logo and the Cosmos logo. So apparently they've got 150 employees still, generating $76 million in sales, with 22 companies in the corporate family. So quite impressive, really. So anyway, let's take a little more and find out what else was in that eBay purchase, shall we? Done. Hopefully it's got the same, it's a nice complete kit of parts for us. Mine was actually a smaller kit. I didn't have the yellow one in as well, so looking at it, I think this is a slightly more advanced kit than the one I had. But some beautiful descriptions of how electronics work, with little diagrams all over it. There was one I remember from back in the day. Let's see if I can find it here. There's the one about how power is generated and how it does it. There's a little bit when they get into the transistors, I think. There's a diagram that explains. Lovely colour diagrams, yep. Oh, there it is. That diagram was when I finally understood how transistors work, and I think that's amazing. So such a simple idea to understand how the base on the transistor controls the flow from the current from the collector into the emitter. It's just so obvious when you see it drawn like that. So hopefully that's just a brief one. Well, there's a little bit more. I've just lifted the yellow one up, and I think the original batteries have still been left in here. Good grief, ever ready. So that'll take a bit of cleaning up, but a few of the original components are in there as well. I wonder if there's anything under the red one. You told you I couldn't wait to do anything, didn't I? I'm hopeless. Oh yes, look at that. And some more of the components, excellent. And the earpiece. Oh, this is excellent, excellent, excellent. I think there's actually looks like a transistor in there as well. I shall extract those batteries and dispose of them, and we'll give the I'm sure the polystyrene will wash in the shower quite well. They usually clean up quite nicely, so it does look like there's quite a few more bits than we thought. And the missing part, the coil, as I said, I've actually got a spare core in case my coil is broken. So I think we could be in luck with this, guys. And it's a lovely letter from the, I'll hide the guy's address, but it's obviously who was originally a member of the club, which is the letters from the user in the electronics club. And this is the remnants of, they must have wound the coil. This is the remnants of the enamelled copper that's used to wind the radio wires. So we shall extract all these bits and put them somewhere safe and looking quite nice. Excellent. I think my earpiece needs a bit of a clean up. I think that's fairly gruesome, but I'm sure none of this is impossible to save. Excellent. I'm sure we shall look forward to working through. Oh, that's a shame. No BC583 in the old transistors boxes. That would have been something we could have usefully repaired, because they've obviously lost all their legs and been damaged. I expect we can find an equivalent for most of the circuits. They're not going to be very critical, I wouldn't have thought. So, okay, no, looks like we're out of luck. So, oh well, there's a few different ones there. I'm sure we can use something. So the clean-up took a bit of effort. I started putting all the parts back in and put the capacitors back on the card, because there'd been absolutely no reason they would be working these days, especially the electrolytics and things like that. So we keep those as original as we can. Some of the components were definitely in a bit of a mess. There's no two ways about it. The transistor was snap leg. We'll find that later. Some of the leads were highly corroded on the resistors. I actually tested some of the resistors. Well, in fact, I tested all of them, and they were significantly changed from the values they should be. Started looking up the alternate numbers for the transistors. There's actually some different ones in there than are actually in the kit. The kit supplies, they say, either 583Cs or 238Cs. There's a pair of each, so I got some of each, managed to get them on the Great Bay. So the bulb was finished. The end is completely missing. So there's no way of connecting it. So that's long gone. We'll come back to that tale afterwards. So each of the legs on that all of the components needed to be sort of cleaned up properly. So we bit of wire wool, some clean, give them all, straighten them all out. Worked quite well to clean them up, so they were a lot easier to manage afterwards. And we then managed to put all the bits onto the card. You notice I've replaced the transistors. Of course, you may notice the coil in the bottom corner. Well, that was, as I suspected, luckily, that was sitting in my little toolbox. So kept since the 70s. There's a bit of a memento. Like I said, I'm sure I've got one of the red breadboards and the battery holder there, because that's quite badly distorted. So I'm sure I've got that somewhere, but we shall see. So therein lies the repair job as moving forward. Some cleanup is done by the using a couple of baby wipes to wipe around it and some cleaner on the polystyrene, and that's pretty much as getting it slowly back to the way it should be. So hopefully this Science Fun Experiments in Super Electronics 1 kit is looking a little bit better than when we first received it, and probably closer to what would have been the experience of looking at it when they first had it at Christmas. So the box itself is in pretty good condition, so we don't have any too much, and hopefully now you can see that this would have been the way it was laid out with the book this way. Obviously I still haven't found the replacement battery connector, but you've got the screw terminals, set of screws and the small piece of sandpaper, all the components in terms of the capacitors and the resistors, replacement transistors, what's left of the coil of wire, the connectors for the blocks, and the short and the long clips. Obviously the red wires, longer ones, I've actually left those on the board because they're quite fiddly to fit. Several of the stickers have obviously been used up and left on the components. And then you've got the two breadboards, and amongst all the other components you've got the general purpose tuning tool, and we'll see it's got some clever bits in it. The zinc and the copper strips, some bulbs, we'll talk about those in a minute, a spare core, the potentiometer, the multi-tool, battery clips, earphone, the two switches. These would have held the jack socket adapters, which are already fitted to the red board, no point taking them out, and of course my famous coil. So let's start having a little look at what we've got when we want to use that kit as is. So the first thing you're going to do obviously is use your handy little dip in the polystyrene. It's the little touches like that that make this quite clever. And take a look at your handbook, colour pictures for easily identifying all the components you're going to need, and a good list to check off against your list of components as well, where you can order spares if there's any missing or if any get damaged. So obviously we're going to skip some of the first experiments. Some of the first jobs are to fit all the little clips into the board. They've already been done, obviously. They came in little bags. And the next one obviously is to fit a bulb in using these long red wires, which is why I've already left these in this. So if we take a look at these, I've already left the long red wires in the connectors that actually just go through these at the back here, just to be able to act as a bulb. And the other one that I've left in is one of the first things you do after you fit the battery contacts on the back. So one of the first things you do is fit in the switch according to the booklet, which sits underneath. So when I first had the kit, this was actually fitted upside down, this switch connector. So it wouldn't have been moving between these two sets of contacts, as you can see as we move the switch back and forth. Because it's made of plastic and held in by one of the terminal screws, it's sort of stripping the plastic, so every time you take it on and off and remove it, so it seemed more logical to leave it on there along with the other components. Just in terms of obviously not going to take all the clips out, leave it ready assembled for use. So that's the method that the switch uses. So there we go. Onwards. Obviously the bit about joining the two breadboards together. So unfortunately, one of the problems with the replacement parts is this bulb is actually a 0.2 amp bulb. It originally came with a 0.07 or 70 milliamp one. So this is it'll be alright with the battery ones draining fairly quickly, but obviously it's gonna not be any good for the current load of the transistors when you're building the circuit. So in order to do some of the experiments, I'm going to have to put a bit of a big current limiting resistor in there, which will make it very dim, but at least it'll go on. So I'll keep looking. Maybe I'll use a 6 volt 60 milliamp bulb. I think you can still get those, which will limit the current a little bit. So for the moment I'm going to use rather than fitting the battery connectors on the back here, which clip onto these and then the battery goes across diagonally, I'm just going to use a bench power supply with a current limit of 80 odd milliamps, and then we can't accidentally burn anything out if we're going to do any transistor designs. So basically the bulb just screws in there, which just allows it to make contact with the 2 bits of wire. I've put the one connector into the switch. We'll put positive onto there, and we'll get like I say, I'm going to use a bench supply connection. We will find a large resistor somewhere. Hopefully we've got one. Yep, there we go. Yeah, I think this should cope. It's way over spec for what we need, but we'll use that as a connector. We'll make that like common, and then put the bulb in there, and we will turn this on to here. So we basically have a feed, leave it off, and we power the voltage supply on, which is set at 4.5 volts. So now when I turn it on, we should see a little glow with the bulb. Hopefully, there we go. Tiny little glow. Probably barely see it on the on the camera, but there we are. It is on, and if I take it off, it'll go off. To play fair, the bulb will go quite bright if I put directly on here, but the overcurrent will go fairly quickly, I would have thought. There we go. So, which proves the overcurrent protection's working. So, here we go. So we need to keep our feed, unfortunately, quite small, and it'll just be a tiny little glow, which is, like I said, barely visible. I don't know whether you can actually see it. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just about. There we go. Just a tiny little glow in the bulb. So, I took the plunge and ordered some of the correct bulbs on eBay. Incredibly expensive. They still haven't arrived. So, of course, while I was sorting out some of my electronic stuff, I found a traditional bulb holder with a bulb in it. So, looking at it, I think this is actually a 3.8 volt 70 milliamp bulb. So, probably exactly what this kit needs. So, still, once the others arrive, we've got the pair that we need for the set. So, there we go. Oh, so look at that! It still looks great, doesn't it? And it looks absolutely brilliant to unwrap that lot. So let's hope this bulb is working. I don't know. Actually, we could test it fairly quickly, just using the power supply. This is already in a holder. So there's the 4.5 volts. I'm going to see what it draws when we turn it on. Oop, drew too much current. So still a little bit over its ability. It's a shame. We'll put a small shunt in it, see what it looks like, but see how fast it goes up. It wasn't a lot of current. So, unfortunately, that very bright one is actually a 3 volt 150 milliamp, which of course is going to be significantly more when you're under at 4.5 volts. That's 20 ohm resistor effectively. So I think we're going to have to pause there. We've got 30 minutes on this, what is going to be now part 1, I think, of a 2-part program. Hopefully you've enjoyed it so far, and we'll want to pick up with part 2 when those bulbs arrive, on what else we can do with this fascinating kit. And of course, sorry, but in classic cliffhanger, you're going to have to wait the next part when we sift through some of those papers under the book to find out the link to those rocking horses, and it isn't how rare this kit is, and find out some more about the fascinating history surrounding these kits from Logic Cosmos. So until next time, hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you again soon on the channel. Thanks.